Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Victor of Cars Jubilee. Today we're back for our 9th month update with our Ioniq 5. Where is our Ioniq 5? It's not here. And in fact, that's actually the theme of our 9th month update. Now don't worry, my wife drove it to work this morning, it's back on the road where it should be, and we're all good with that. But this 9th month has really emphasized to me just the risks associated with owning an Ioniq 5. And so today I'm going to explain all of that to you. So if you want to know the risks associated with owning an Ioniq 5, well, let's get to it. Now, if you saw the 8th month update, you would have seen me end it by saying that, hey, servicing an Ioniq 5 can be a little difficult, and it's something that you have to take into account when you're considering purchasing an Ioniq 5. Well, this 9th month has highlighted for me something even worse, a ownership element that to me is probably the worst part of owning an Ioniq 5, and that would just be the waiting. Because you're going to be waiting for parts, you're going to be waiting for service, and you're going to be waiting for them to finish working on your car. Now, let's just focus on the past 4 weeks for me. Week 1, well, the replacement glass roof for our car finally arrived, so we dropped it off at the shop, and then it stayed at the shop for the whole week, waiting for them to cut out the old roof and put on a new one. Of which case, then they realized at the very end of the week, uh-oh, the replacement glass roof is chipped. So there's a whole video on that where I go in depth on everything that happened, but basically I go back to the shop and I drive my roofless Ioniq 5 back home to my garage. So week number 2, my Ioniq 5 was stuck in my garage without a roof, and it rained all week. Week number 3, now surprisingly, they get a new replacement for the replacement really quickly. They call us, we bring the car back to the repair shop, and they put the new glass roof on, and by the end of the 3rd week, we have our Ioniq 5 back home, all fixed. Week 4, I rupture my Achilles and I can't drive anyways. So that's how the past 4 weeks went. I basically either didn't have my Ioniq 5 or I couldn't drive it because it didn't have a roof for a total of about almost 3 out of the 4 weeks. And then if we backtrack to when the glass first got cracked from a rock chip, well, that was almost 3 months ago. And now I'm going to throw some numbers at you. The first number is 6 weeks. That's the amount of time that my Ioniq 5 sat on the driveway, in this garage, or at a repair shop, undrivable. A total of 6 weeks. Next number is 9 weeks. My Ioniq 5 had this ugly tape going all the way across the glass roof for 9 weeks because that's how long it took for us to get the first replacement glass roof. 9 weeks. Next number is 100 hours. Now, that's the approximate amount of hours that I spent dealing with insurance, with rental car companies, with the different repair companies, talking with corporate Hyundai, and then dropping off and picking up my Ioniq 5. You might be thinking, how in the world did I spend 100 hours on this? Let me explain. Well, there's travel time alone, right? I've got a total of 6 round trips to 2 different repair shops. So I've got 2 round trips to Safelite for the windshield, and then I have 4 round trips to the repair shop for the glass roof. And it's not like they're just down the street, right? Some of these drives are about an hour each way. So I've got about 10 hours in just driving time of shuttling my Ioniq 5 back and forth between the different repair shops. And then I mentioned dealing with insurance. Well, my claim got outsourced and then outsourced again. So every time I was talking to insurance, I was talking to State Farm. And then I was talking to Link Services. And then I was talking to Sunroof Express. And none of them really talked to each other. So every time I had to call my insurance, it was a headache. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I got a letter from Safelite who had completed my windshield replacement over 2 months ago. But the letter says, hey, pay us some money or have your insurance call us because no one's paid us for the windshield. So then I had to call State Farm and then had to try to get in contact with Lynx. And, luckily that whole fiasco came to an end during this 9th month where it's finally resolved. Supposedly everything's paid for and we're good. But, oh, did I mention that when we tried to get the windshield and glass roof replaced that we called a bunch of people? We started off calling the dealerships and they all said, we do not touch the glass on an Ioniq 5. If you need a windshield replaced, go to Safelite. If you need a glass roof replaced, we have no idea. And that made me really flustered. How in the world am I supposed to know? And what ended up happening is my insurance needed 2 weeks to find somebody. They basically went all the way down the list and called everybody until someone said, oh sure, we'll do it. Which means we're using a shop that has never touched an Ioniq 5 before. They didn't even know what it was. And then there was dealing with Hertz, the rental car company. First, they overbilled us about $500 for our first rental for the glass windshield. And then when it came time to replace the glass roof, we needed another car for a couple of days. And this time they just completely botched the billing on that one too. And it's taken 2 months for them to finally straighten out the first one. They ended up refunding us in full, so that was nice. For the other bill, they went back and fixed things up. But like I said, it took 2 months of just calling and emailing. Every time I call, they would say, oh, there's nothing wrong with the bill or there's nothing we can do. So luckily Hertz Corporate took care of it. But again, that took 2 months. And again, that finally came to a full resolution during this 9th month. So if you add all those things up, well, that's how we got to about 100 hours of time spent dealing with Ioniq 5 ownership. And the sad truth is that I'm probably not alone here. If you browse the different forums, you'll come across different stories of people that have had to deal with long, time-consuming repairs and waits. Here's a couple examples. Owner A, well, their car won't turn on, assuming it's probably related to the 12-volt battery. They call their local certified dealer, and the dealer says, sure, we can see you in a month. Okay, owner B, well, their AC and their heating have not been working since the 2nd week of ownership, and it's now been over 6 months, and they are still waiting on parts. Owner C, their charge port pins are defective, and they cannot DC fast charge, and the current wait for that is about 8 weeks. Owner D, well, their car has been at the dealership for over a month now because the dealer is still trying to track down the phantom drain on their 12-volt battery. Still going. And then there's owner E who waited 3 months for a new windshield. So just based on all of these stories plus my own story, I think it's pretty clear there is some risk involved with owning an Ioniq 5. And those risks are centered around waiting for parts, waiting for service appointments, and then waiting for them to figure out what in the world is going on. But you're waiting on people that are possibly inexperienced and who just don't really know what's going on either. And in the end, it feels like waiting with the Ioniq 5 is exponentially longer than with other cars. Now, there are 3 things that I want to mention before moving on. Number 1, I'm sure there are other newer EVs that have the same problems, where there's a huge, long wait for parts, or maybe they're dealing with inexperienced people working on their cars. That's just kind of how it is with newer EVs. Number 2, every automaker has faulty cars, faulty parts. Even look at Toyota, one of the most reputable, reliable brands out there. They make bad ones too. No one has 100% reliability. That's just the way it is. Number 3, this is not the norm for an Ioniq 5. In fact, most owners will tell you that their Ioniq 5s have been rock solid since day one. In fact, even my Ioniq 5, outside of the bad luck with the cracked windshield and the cracked roof, it's been pretty much rock solid. I don't have any 12-volt battery drain issues. My heating and my AC have worked perfectly since day one. And outside of some small fit and finish issues, I really have zero complaints. My car charges perfectly fine, and it's been reliable. It's been a very reliable EV that I can just get in every day and drive. So really, most owners like myself will say we have no serious issues and we find the Ioniq 5 to be relatively reliable. Most of you hopefully will never see the bad side of owning an Ioniq 5. Well, I made today's video so that all of you could see just how bad it can get. But that's not to say that it's going to be the case for everybody. In fact, it's probably not. It's not all bad either. In fact, I've been pleasantly surprised by Hyundai corporate and how they've helped me through all of this. The Consumer Affairs Department has been great to work with. In fact, to date, they've covered about half my glass deductible. It was $500 and they chipped in $250. And then when I ran out of rental car coverage because the glass roof took so long to arrive, they stepped in and said they would cover $75 per day for a rental car. And we did end up taking them up on that offer, and they ended up paying out about $250 for our most recent rental as we waited for the glass roof to get replaced. And then when I was just completely burnt out of dealing with Hertz and rental cars, and I said, I'm just going to use rideshare to get back and forth from the shop, they once again graciously picked up the tab there. And so just with all these different things, Hyundai has stepped in to try to help me where possible, and I've appreciated that. And so while things haven't been perfect, I have been happy and I have been satisfied with the customer service provided by Hyundai corporate. So with all that said, let's revisit this again. Would I buy the Ioniq 5 again, knowing what I know now? For me, it's still a yes. Now, why would I still say yes? Well, I could go on and on. The ride quality is super quiet, super comfortable to the point that every day I get in to drive to work and I know I've got a nasty commute in front of me, it doesn't faze me at all because I know my driving to work is going to be calm, it's going to be peaceful, and I'm going to be totally just cocooned inside my car. And then there's just the insane looks, and I still think the Ioniq 5 is the best looking car out on the road. And then there's the passionate Ioniq community. And I've been in different car forums and car communities, but this one by far is the most global because of the amount of people that it attracts from all over the world, and then just the amount of passion and the amount that people care about their cars. It's just been so much fun to be a part of. It's something I've never experienced before, and I think it's truly unique. And so just as a final thought, clearly there are risks involved with owning an Ioniq 5, and clearly it's not for everybody. If you have zero tolerance for risk, this is not the right car for you. Or if you have zero tolerance for early adopter issues, again, this is not the right car for you, at least not right now. If you're someone that's interested, but you just don't have those tolerances, then I would recommend that you wait another year or two so that Hyundai has time to sort out the parts, logistics nightmare, and also the servicing aspect of this car. Give them time to sort this all out, and in a year or two, the car is going to be more reliable and just easier to service in general. But on the flip side, if you're someone that can deal with some of these risk tolerances, well, your reward is one of the best driving EVs out there, and to me, one of the best looking cars out there, period. So to me, it really is that good, and I would buy another one knowing all that. I would happily jump into an Ioniq 6 or an upcoming Ioniq 7, knowing what I know now. So anyways, for those of you guys out there that have had some traumatic or not so great experiences, feel free to share them in the comment section below. I'd love to learn about your experiences. But otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.